we're really excited to bring you some updates and to clarify some of the questions we've been getting regarding the audit the records. Our intent and our mission is to get the attention of DOGE, which we have on X and other places. They've actually been recognizing the posts. They've been liking them. They've been letting me know they're on there. So with that said, the intent is to pause all land records recordings across this country, to have a full and complete audit of the land records, and then to return stolen titles and give remedy to those who have been through the nightmare of having everything they own stolen, including some of us having been attacked, SWAT teamed. Some have been incarcerated, all unlawfully at the hands of attorneys and judges who have handed properties over without any intent to allow jurors to even be involved, and and just under the color of law, not under actual law that protects our rights. So we have a lot of links in the description of our pages that you can go to get further information. So today what we're going to do is clarify with you some reasons that we are doing this. What has happened to our land records, the genocide of our land records, has created homelessness across this country, dispossessed millions of homeowners, not just one or two. And if you've been touched by CPS, crime in the courts, or recordings into the land records regarding homes and things attached to your children, identity theft has happened. More nefarious deeds are handled inside the land records due to a software system that's out of control and communicates all the way up to the Department of Defense. On a side note, for all of those who keep screaming you're so worried about your personal information being accessed through things that are going on with our new administration, I'll have you know that your information has been further accessed through our land records than you could ever dream could ever happen in just an audit of our federal government. Those on this panel can attest to you that your land records are a direct line to everything about you, your life, where you go, what you do, and it invades your children's identities. It invades everything. And so at the end, I'll give a little more of a synopsis on the land records software, because when I started finding out about it was in 2013 after we found out that Kamala Harris had screwed the pooch for us and allowed our homes to all go to thieves, including Steve Mnuchin, who she let off the hook. So with that preface, intent is to pause recording of all land records, give a full and complete audit of the land records, return stolen titles to the proper owner, and remedy to those who've had the damages. So with that, I'm going to turn you over now to Tom Kibler. Our five on the panel today are Tom Kibler, Rorie Woods, Renee Wyler, and Val Naif, and we are all members of the National Committee in support of Resolution 6021, which is to fight homelessness and to fight the genocide of home ownership all across the country. We're involved in together collectively, and we are involved separately in other groups clear across this country, touching thousands of lives, thousands and thousands of homes. And so when I turn you over to these people on this screen with me right now, I tell you they're some of the most trusted people in my life who I've spent more hours than I can attest to regarding helping us help our country stop this. So Tom, go ahead and take the floor. And thank you so much, Tom, for all of your friendship and all of your kindred spirit through this with me.
Thank you, Billie, for all that you've done and all you do. Excuse me. For anybody that's not familiar with homeownerslegalrights.org, I invite you to go to that website, look at the pinned letters up on the top, and they will tell you an awful lot about the genesis of our land records. And actually, since 1787, the Northwest Ordinance, each state was supposed to appoint the governors was supposed to appoint a statewide commission or commissioner to oversee and secure the land records, because that's what our government was founded on, is property rights. Lots of forged documents, false recordings, counterfeits, and they knew it was a problem in the 2012 National Mortgage Settlement Consent Judgment, and all states were mandated to purge the damn forgeries out of the land records and prevent them from happening again. Never happened. I can't speak for other states, but here in Minnesota, our Attorney General just turned her back and said, "There's nothing we can do." Talking about a lot of felonies, and every time that you've talked to the police or a city council member or your mayor or your governor, and they haven't done something about reporting a felony, they've committed what's called a misprision of felony. That's 18 U.S. Code 4. That's a misdemeanor in itself, but more importantly, that makes them under 18 U.S.C. 3 an accessory after the fact, and personally liable for up to 50% of the fines and penalties that the criminals are subject to. We've got a lot of other criminal codes for the false documents, false recording, fraud and swindle, racketeering. And in 42 code, 42 U.S.C. 1986, everybody who had an opportunity to prevent us from coming to harm and neglected to is now liable. And it can all be held liable in an action, in a judgment. Everybody can, or in a cause of action. They can all be named. Each state also has a statute of frauds, which basically says if false crap is recorded, anything conveyed, thought to be conveyed, isn't. It's void. Void ab initio. Excuse me. I guess those are the main points that I wanted to hit. This stuff is all tied in. It's a gigantic organized crime scheme because we've got racketeering, we've got identity theft, we've got the money laundering. It ties into the other human trafficking with kids. It ties into the drug dealing, the money laundering overall. Big problem. We've got DOGE. It seems like paying big attention right now. It's the best opportunity we've ever had to show them that at the city level, the county level, the state level, and federal level, we've been ignored. We've filed these crimes and reported these crimes, filed criminal reports, police reports, and been absolutely ignored. So now's the time, hopefully, to get their attention and make the reparations.
That was a violation of not following due process of law for administrative remedies, which is how we all filed our documents into the courts administratively. And they denied and ignored, which are violations of, it's a misprision of felony, $10,000 fine and 10 years in jail or both.
And some of them are $100,000. Some of them are $100,000 fine and lifetime in prison. So one document recorded into the land records that a judge is involved in knowingly, like Judge David O'Carter in our case for all of us interested parties who were involved in Powers versus Bank of New York Mellon. All of us on this phone were, but also he ordered evidence to be destroyed. So
that was correct. Destruction of evidence.
Destruction of spoliation, etc. So, okay, we'll get back to that a little more discussion later because I wanted people to know that these things can be found openly. That literally is on the Department of Justice's homepage. So if anybody wants to Google it, just go there. All of this information that we're speaking of tonight, Tom just told you, homeowners' legal rights out of Florida. Tom and I are both on the board of directors there with Linda Nash as the head of the nonprofit. So that page is full of everything you need to know about the Northwest Ordinance. Thank you, Tom, for doing that. The Sheets case that last May gave determination through the Supreme Court about our land rights and honoring and mentioning the Northwest Ordinance, wasn't it, Tom?
Yes,
the Sheets case? Okay. So again, you can find all of these things out there. So I'm now going to introduce you to a wonderful woman who is still being persecuted. And we're supporting heavily and having a lot of prayers for you, Rorie. I know you've got a lot on your hands. The land records, if it weren't for them, you wouldn't be where you are right now either in your turmoil, because this wouldn't have happened to you. You wouldn't have had to go and protect a homeowner and end up in a quagmire of made up sludge against you. So, Rorie, I appreciate you also. So go ahead and let's hear what your part of this conversation is in regards to.
Okay, Billie, thank you. I'm going to speak about Massachusetts law. And I know that's 1/50th of what people are dealing with around the country here. But what I want you to understand is that this national problem has been addressed at the state level consistently across the board. So, for example, there was a law passed in 2012 in Massachusetts. It's called the Mass MA, PUUF. It was an act. It was called an emergency act to prevent unlawful foreclosure. In fact, what it does is it facilitates unlawful foreclosure. It facilitates it through the housing court. So, bearing that in mind, my more recent research has been on Mass General Law, Chapter 221, Section 46E, which pertains specifically to the MERS database and using it in their fake foreclosures. And then it relates to Mass General Law, Chapter 222, many sections, Section 1, 8, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, and on and on. Where they adjusted that law, those laws, those sections of Mass General Law, Chapter 222, having to do with electronic signatures, affiants, all the paperwork that they're putting through the housing courts, or even sometimes, the land courts and the district courts and whatnot, in effect, to steal title to our properties through the courts. They adjusted the laws to facilitate it. And they did this just as recently as June 27th, 2023. June 27th, 2024 was a Supreme Court decision that said essentially that our Americans can't be separated from their property absent a trial by a jury of their peers in an Article III court. Now, that's what's important about these administrative tribunals, is that the land court in Massachusetts, as well as the housing court, these are administrative tribunals only. They don't have jury trials. They're not Article III jurisdiction. So all of the takings that have happened, they begin in the land court with they do these service members findings just so they can get a judgment and record a judgment against us, and then use that to get us into the housing court. All of it is obviously it's title theft facilitated through the courts. So what I want people to understand from this, even though it just sounds like mumbo jumbo that I'm talking about in Massachusetts, there are parallel laws that have been enacted through all 50 states. So the law, the MAPUUF, the emergency legislation of 2012 that was supposed to prevent unlawful foreclosures, but actually facilitates them through the housing court. There's one of those in every state. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know how to tell you to find it. I literally tripped over it by reading case law in Massachusetts. I was reading an SJC decision, and I was scouring it because it was the Alton King decision. And Alton King is the gentleman whose home I was at when I was engaging civil disobedience about the unlawful taking of his home. As a quick aside, when Alton King's title to his home was stolen by way of evicting him improperly from his premises, I wanted to keep a couple things in mind. It was $1 million property. So they took it very aggressively because there was a lot of spoils to share between, clerks, judges, politicians, sheriffs, whoever, registers of deeds, assistant registers of deeds, on and on. Not only that, but they waited until Alton was undergoing cancer treatment as a vulnerable person. And they do this to all of us. And they do it through AI. They harvest all of our data constantly through social media, through our, utility bills payments, our banking, our medical records, all of it. Make no mistake, that's all being harvested by AI, and they get these profiles on us. They have these algorithms. If you're late in your utility bills a couple of months in a row, you're going to trip an algorithm, and they're going to look at you more closely, and they're going to think, oh, is it time? Is it time to go and steal their house? Mm-hmm. That's how it happens. So we have to be vigilant, folks. As much as, we all want to herald this new era with the new sheriff in town, and his name is Donald J. Trump. We have to be careful. We have to be vigilant because there are many people, who are aligned with him, mm-hmm. who were invested in compiling the new digital grid, the new digital ID, and the new, digital monetary system that could enslave us further. We must be vigilant. There is no opportunity for us to rest, even when we've won our own home, because our very liberty is at stake. And as we all know, it's the United States Constitution that is the strongest one planet-wide. That if
It's the oldest one. It's the oldest one planet-wide. And we're the
and the
youngest country.
strongest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the issue, is if they can compromise our Constitution, and when people talk about abolishing our Constitution, think twice about that. If our Constitution gets compromised, the whole planet devolves into slavery.
And let's get back to land records.
Back to land records. So when we do our arguments about, whether the signatures are valid because they were electronic, or whether, the signer was valid, I urge you to go to your own state's general laws on notary and read it all. You'll find that there are, maybe out of the 20 sections, there's 5 or 6 of them that say this was amended, recently, probably within the last 2 years. Because, what they've done is, they've cataloged all the ways that we've been able to sort of, fight these issues, and whether or not they decided, in support of us, which generally they didn't, they took those arguments and they wrote new legislation to make sure that we couldn't use those arguments.
And remember, Elizabeth Warren's CFPB was instrumental in a lot of what you're talking about right here, because the CFPB is where we all sent our, hey, these documents are fraud. This was signed by somebody who doesn't even work at this company. And we sent all of our information to the CFPB. I know most of us started over a decade ago. I think I started in 2009, 2010. And all of our information that was sent to them was ripe for the AI, because that's how the judges, and there's literally a book that says, if they say this, you say this. So the paralegals within these firms have the answers that are generic and just boom, 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 boom. They use the same pattern. Patterns are very, very, criminals have to use patterns, because if they don't, it's just like anything else. They can't keep track of their lies. So they actually have a book of how to lie to the court and how to undercut a homeowner who is not a sophisticated legal mind. So, Rorie, thank you for that, because that ran in California, by the way, it's HOBAR, HOBAR, Homeowners Bill of Rights, like you have in Massachusetts. Tom, what is the one in your state called? Do you know?
We really don't have anything specific for homeowners.
Okay, well, our Homeowners Bill of Rights in California, all the cases in California that I know and helped with used it, saying, hey, here it is, violation, broke the law, broke the law, broke the law. Kamala Harris did a amicus brief for Unova, and it was wonderful. And she talked about how all of it was illegal, but at the same time, she was letting Steve Mnuchin off the hook for all of his theft in the land records, stealing 36,000 homes through One West Bank who was IndyMac at first and then became One West Bank under Soros money and all. But 36,000 homes, one of mine in San Diego was one of them. So thank you, Rorie. Anything to close on that?
Yeah, let me just wrap up. So when I got off into the Alton King bit, it was a bit of a tangent just to make a point. But it was because I was reading SJC decision, not just the decision, but the briefs that were filed on his behalf to the SJC, that I stumbled over this MAPUUF. And I thought, what is that? And I looked it up, of course, and it's emergency legislation. Well, we learned during COVID, there is no such thing as emergency legislation. There is no time that the legislature can be circumvented to implement legislation because the country was established at a time of emergency. There's plenty of Supreme Court case law on this. So that is unequivocally unlawful. It's just a matter of finding the time to send this up to the Supreme Court of the United States to get it qualified as such. The point is, we all have this in our states, and they're very well concealed. The MAPUUF, you can't just go to Mass General Law and type it in and say, what is this? It doesn't show up.
It's hidden. There's no transparency. No transparency.
You have to dig through the case law and find these things that they're using to rule against us, and then search them individually.
But to recap here, the intent of this discussion here is all of this that you're hearing goes away if the land records are cleaned up, audited, pause on the recording, this electronic recording. We got to audit the land records, because all of these things that you're going to hear, side notes and what happened to people here, Alden would not have had any of that happen to him. No, I wouldn't have, Tom wouldn't, Val, Renee, if the land records were not used as the dumping ground for the fraud and forgeries, because without those, they can't do all this other. You can't have sheriffs attacking with writ of possessions based on documents that are frauds and forgeries when the judges and the judiciary recognize that they're void ab initio, paperwork that's created in order to get that writ of possession. Because again, it all starts at the very bottom line, the land records.
Everyone should understand that this is not a new phenomenon, the corruption of the land records. So in my research, in researching judges, their spouses who might be judges, etc., I have found that the probate courts and the superior courts have been laundering title for generations, for decades and decades. I found documents that went back 80 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure this isn't just limited to Massachusetts, because I found it in other states as well. So there's going to be tremendous pushback against us, because this implicates so many members of the bar. We need to really marshal our numbers in making these demands, because the pushback is going to be immense.
Of course, because so many of them are involved in the fraudulent documents. You know what? Thank you, Rorie. And again, wish you luck, and any help the team can give you, we will. This is something throughout every land record, every land record department, every one of them, every state. We're not talking, this literally, what we're talking about here could settle the national debt. There is hundreds of trillions of fines and fees in each municipality's land record department to be collected, and lifetimes in prison. Like Val said.
Renee, can I
Go
throw
ahead,
one
Tom.
last thing, and that's related there?
Mm-hmm.
Every one of our states should have something regarding attorney misconduct as well as official misconduct. I can speak specifically to Minnesota. Anytime an attorney files a false claim, files false documents, any kind of deceit whatsoever, they are liable for treble damages.
Mm-hmm.
Think of every bad attorney, every bad case.
Yep. Treble damage. We need to get in front of the administration with a panel similar to what we have here. Plus, we have other people that are professionals, like that we would ask, to come in, who've sat as expert witnesses in thousands of cases across this country. Renee, this is Renee Wyler, Wyler Mortgage. Renee has, and I came together over MERS and MERS audits, and she does videos and delves into property records attached to MERS. But today we're talking about that issue in the land records, because MERS is supposed to be a filing cabinet, not a lender. So go ahead, Renee. Let's have you discuss a little bit about what your thoughts are on the land records, please.
Hi, I'm Renee Wyler, and I'm the owner of the Wyler Mortgage Group. I originated mortgages previous to the mortgage meltdown in both Ohio and Michigan. And I have audited 4 counties in Ohio and 2 in Michigan. And I'm identifying each and every bank employee and attorney, state bar attorney, who has stolen the corporate identity of my company, along with all the data of my mortgage customers, to corrupt title to every single one of the mortgages that I originated. I sent this information to Donald J. Trump when he was at Mar-a-Lago in December of 2024. I've also sent this information to DOGE, the DOGE chairman, Marjorie Taylor Greene. So they now have that. They also have the tri-party agreement in the taking of our lands that was put together by the government, Fannie Mae, and state bar attorneys. This was filed in the Massachusetts Supreme Court by Deborah Brown, and that case is before the U.S. Supreme Court right now. I've also filed a claim against Governor Gretchen Whitmer, a bond claim, because she failed to protect and secure our deeds pursuant to the Northwest Ordinance of 1787. That is her duty to protect our records, and they have been absolutely destroyed. So I am now litigating a case. It's called Weber versus Wyler Mortgage Group, LLC. It started out in Leelanau County, Michigan. Now it's been assigned to a judge in Wexford County, Michigan, where all of the land records have been destroyed. Apparently, they had a cyber attack in Wexford County, and they have no records or none that they can access.
So they say.
Pardon me?
So they say.
So they say. Well, yes, exactly. Because I also entered into Fulton County, Georgia, and contacted Fonnie Willis, the prosecutor there. I contacted Cassandra Kirk, the chief judge there, as well as Shay Alexander, the clerk there, and told them about the fictitious entity known as the Bank of New York Mellon trustee, who stole my customers' information, my corporate identity, and was stealing. Oh, they stole yours too, Renee Powers. So that's a Ukrainian now is entitled to your home?
Yeah,
How
All
does
Rise Capital, Mikhail Trubchek.
that work?
Slovakian, Ukrainian.
Oddly enough, the Bank of New York Mellon trustee also stole the home of Alton King, who was a former basketball player that Rorie was speaking about. They also stole the home of Cindy Brown, also an Olympic gold medalist basketball player. They stole her home too. They're looking for big equity, $1 million homes. Yeah. So where do we go from here? Well, we cannot stop. We have to fight for our deeds, for our land records, and we're going to have to take on an army of public servants, government officials, and state bar attorneys, so-called officers of the courts that have defrauded us.
Well, they've not only perjured and defrauded, but they've intentionally, with malicious intent to enrich themselves, never prove agency. So,
let me tell you about that. I just posted the home of Randall Miller, who is the brother of the Register of Deeds Lisa Brown in Oakland County, Michigan. You will see his house, his humongous mansion that he built on the backs of all of these stolen homeowners' properties. And that's on my YouTube station, Renee Wyler. It's Renee, Wyler, Wyler. And that also will give you an idea of how to look into your own MERS records and compare them with the land records. Everyone is going to have to be educated on what is going on, how they're doing it, and you're going to need to take all of your records that are currently available in your Register of Deeds and make copies of them, get them certified, because they could be gone just like Wexford County's records any day now. Mm-hmm. So please go to the land records, print out what you have, take those paper copies, make yourself a digital copy of the paper copies, and make sure you have those paper copies and bury them somewhere, because our records are going to be destroyed.
And get yourself some terabyte hard drives.
Yes.
They're not the little thumb drives. Get yourself some terabyte hard drives and save everything multiple times and stash it in various locations.
Yes, I just bought one for $20 on Amazon. I've not used one of those. I'm not particularly sophisticated when it comes to the computers, but I am downloading everything.
And what Renee is talking about here, when they say their land records have disappeared. They can't find them. Remember what we're told. They leave a digital footprint. So at the end of this, we're going to clarify that a little bit more. And again, this is all about the land records. If not for the land records, Cindy's home wouldn't have been gone. My ranch wouldn't have been stolen. Rorie wouldn't be going through what she is. Tom, all of us, none of us, we'd all be living peacefully in our family homes without trespass. So now I'm excited to introduce Valerie Naif, one of the dearest ladies whose partner and her wrote the most historical document that a lot of people don't comprehend the significance of, but the majority of us in our groups do. It was recorded in Powers versus Bank of New York Mellon originally, and I think it was 2018 it started, went to U.S. Congress, went to Secret Service, it's gone. When this document is recorded, it goes to 5 central figures in your state: your governor, Secret Service, your FBI, your state representative, your local representative, and it goes to Congress's desk. So each state, of which we now have 40 states, into the land records, into cases, and into the Supreme Court as well has mentioned it on the floor of the Supreme Court. The Northwest Ordinance, as a matter of fact, went, I believe, through Linda Nash is how we really got that pushed into the Supreme Court, is through her work tied to the remonstrance. Homeowners' Legal Rights has supported the Petition of Remonstrance. So this has been on Trump's desk since 2018. It's been on every politician's desk. They have seen it. This document, I am excited for Valerie to explain, because people always ask, what is the significance? Val, thank you so much, my dear, and welcome to participating here. And please share with us your knowledge.
Hi, thank you so much for the invitation. I've got a couple of things that I'd just like to briefly touch about. Donald Trump just put out an executive order to return the power of prayer through schools, etc. But I'd like to take a small scripture from the Bible. First of all, the Supreme Court has ruled the Bible as the living word of God. Mm-hmm. Number 2, the scripture that I'm referring to, it says, "Woe to you, scribes and lawyers, for you hold the key to the kingdom. You dare not enter within. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge." Now, the Petition of Remonstrance that Rorie and I wrote, co-authored together, was filed into the courts December 9th of 2019. We got it in right before COVID. So the Petition of Remonstrance, what it really covers is these are emolument violations. That's just a fancy word for their job description. They're being paid for services that are not being rendered. So that is fraud. It also goes through the amendments, the 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. The Constitution is the law of the land. The emolument violations, these are pursuant to 18 U.S.C. Subsection 241, 242, 643, Executive Orders 818 on human rights trafficking, public law, which is 114-328, Section 12F, 3 U.S.C. Section 301. The list goes on. We wrote this for crimes against humanity, for all those who were going through what we had gone through. Neither Rorie or I have ever had any criminal record until we started fighting against what these judges were doing in these lower administrative courts, having the least amount of power, but creating the most amount of destruction in the in the men and women of this nation. So they have the least amount of power, but this is where they have taken without the authority, they have no skin in the game. We have handled this administratively, meaning informing them of what it is that they're doing. The there's charters, the bank charters, they cannot loan their own credit, cannot loan their depositors money, cannot loan their money. So
we have whistleblowers who, within the petition of remonstrance, there's documents that have been inclusive and attached to it. Hence, and when I tied the electronic recording into the metadata through Facebook, when it was just Facebook, we recognized that Facebook was being accessed. That is in the petition of remonstrance. All of the information that the Panama Papers put out, we had in the petition of remonstrance. So
correct.
We've had our whistleblowers across this country joined an effort to get behind this petition of remonstrance. So a lot of hours, a lot of people went into the documents that are within this document. So this is of the people, for the people, and it is a document that is historical. It's not been done before like this ever in the history of our country. We have 40 states. We've only got a few more to go, but we have the majority here. So we've got 40 states and Congress. So we've got this everywhere. And thanks to Linda Nash from Homeowners Legal Rights, who assisted with all the mailing, they sent me their information. They sent me their notarized documents. I packaged them and I shipped them off. So we have had a huge collective of people. This isn't just a document. This is a historical document that blood, sweat, and tears have gone into, literally. And it's all about these public servants taking all of our taxpayer dollars and all of our reserves and our beneficial interests and accounts that a lot of people now know about but didn't before. So this petition of remonstrance, you can read it in its entirety. It's on www.resolution6021.com. The link is also going to be provided on our YouTube link that this will be attached to as well. So this information about this petition of remonstrance and what Rorie and Val put together is a must read and a must comprehend, that this document was our grievance that is required. When you have something happen to you, you have to prepare a grievance. This is what's happened. This is why you've damaged me. Well, this petition of remonstrance has it all.
Petition is a written lawsuit. Remonstrance is a word that is actually used in military tribunals, and which has really been hid from the public for almost 200 years. But getting back to the petition of remonstrance, these are violations under Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8, 13th Amendment through the Constitution. The list of unjust enrichment and unclean hands. Renee, I know that you remember that Rorie and I also did actually did damages for everybody that was involved in this.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Faith Brashear put together under Brashear versus the U.S., she reverse engineered all of it because she was a coder.
Correct.
You know, she worked for all the banks. So
Correct.
She reversed, and she's the one who sent it out and said, this is what you do. This is what you have to do to find it and how you calculate it. And
now I believe that we reverse engineered, we spoke about that in the petition of remonstrance, and it would leave all of the states in a solvent position.
Yeah, and that was from Brashear's versus the U.S. That's how it ended up in the petition. Because Faith, boy, that woman, she has got the information. If you go to through that group, all of us were involved in this as well. It's she and I hosted originally with Doc from Hamilton Radio the Whistleblower Pie series. We did a series of 8 the first year, which I think was in 2020. And then we did the second series just about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. Time frame's off, but we've had 2 separate series of the Whistleblower Pie. And Faith is brilliant in her work and how she does this. So she reversed engineered this whole thing, which ties right into our land records work for auditing, to return every penny that's due the homeowners and this and the citizenry of this country, the men and women, children, and heirs in succession. So everybody thinks it's such a hard thing to do, but it's been done. Go ahead, Rorie.
Just want to suggest that anybody who's listening might want to go to Amazon and check out Faith's book. Her last name is Brashear, Brashear. She's written all this up in a tidy book. It's $20.
Yep, and it's brilliant. So we've again, the intent here is to audit the land records. And what happened, I'll just give a quick information here of why this is so important to me. When I was standing in front of Todd Spitzer, when he was a supervisor, head of the Board of Supervisors in Orange County, Cindy Brown and I went, and we stood there, gave our information. We had other people. Jerry Watson was with us. We had a few others. And Cindy gave her information. I gave my information about the SWAT team that hit my home that year. And Todd Spitzer required that the real estate fraud division get in touch with me. And of course, they never did, except for when one of them, who was running for office, saw me as a friend on Facebook of someone else she knew and tried to incorporate me into helping her become a judge. And I just said kindly, well, it's wonderful of you to contact me. I'll tell you what, you do what you were supposed to do under Todd Spitzer and help me. Well, she, of course, blocked me. But the point being, at that meeting was when I thought, as we all do, we all have different brains. When you get involved with this, you are a problem solver, and you recognize that nothing is how it should be. Nobody's following the law. It's the Wild West of these thieving attorneys and working with the judges, pay to play going on. It's shocking when you first find it out. The question people say is, well, if you just pay your mortgage, and I laugh, I always say, I got a friend who had 100 people or entities coming after him saying they had claims to his home as a mortgager.
Renee, want people to know that if you don't have a mortgage on your home, you are still at risk. My family owns a home, does not have any mortgages on the home. But I was able to go into the MERS database and find 2 active mortgages that were registered on my home that doesn't have a mortgage. They were 2 of my neighbors' mortgages that were copied onto my address.
And this is not an anomaly. That's not an anomaly. Anyone listening who thinks it can't happen to you, it can. And the reason I started asking, how is this software set up? Because things are being recorded. And we discussed it, and we said there's IP addresses that have to be being used. So I started investigating Secure, the secure software system that in 97, and this affects the whole country. So if you're listening thinking, oh, you're in California, no, follow along, because this matters to every state and international. And if I can find it, anybody can find it, but nobody was looking. So in 97, Bill Clinton started the electronic recordation process. He started talking about it. He started implementing it. Became, wow, this is just cutting edge. Fast forward, Obama gets in office. And in California, the platform they start creating is called the Secure platform. Funny to have a name called Secure when it's the most insecure platform and software system, and it ties to every state and country. So I thought, okay, well, how do they handle this? So I looked at the formation of it. There was a line of succession, who's in charge. The governor gave Kamala Harris, as the attorney general, the duty to fully oversee the implementation of it and make sure no fraud. That always kills me when I hear this. No fraud is being perpetrated through the land records, and that everything being recorded is honorable and blah, blah, blah. So, okay, Kamala, so we know this. And in 2013, the California 13 had a promise from her, not knowing that she was that she had led the charge for implementing the software system. She was supposed to fully investigate these 18 cases of document fraud in the land records. And her task force in California was supposed to take on that. So, quickly stated, what I found was that system was not being overseen. There's no risk management put in place. Zero risk management for the electronic recordation systems. I have not yet, maybe some of you out there can send us information or send me information if you have seen it, but there is no risk management covering the land records. It's a willy-nilly file what you want, and they say, oh, well, it's civil. When you go in and show that somebody has illegally recorded something into your land records, the first thing they tell you is, oh, you need an attorney. No, you don't need an attorney. That's bass-ackwards. This is a crime that's been committed. It took me 2 years and getting attacked by the sheriffs before they actually took the criminal claim taken. It included the notary who gave an affidavit that she didn't notarize documents that I was claiming were fraud and forged. So they were forgeries. So it got in there, but it's still, well, you need to hire an attorney. No, because then I find, well, the DA, if you've already got a criminal report, all they got to do is the DA needs to investigate it and take care of it. The DA can have those documents purged. A judge does not have to do that.
A judge cannot tell you to hire an attorney. That is called practicing law from the bench, and he can be removed for saying that.
Well, and the sheriffs and police that are telling you it's civil, they're also practicing law because their job is law. Their job is of getting the criminals. So these land records, Kamala Harris had the oversight in California. Well, the owners of this software system are San Diego, Los Angeles, Riverside, and Orange County. Orange County houses it in a very locked down office. So these land records have this electronic software system that they call secure. That then I was sent a patent. Thank you, Casey Tuckness. I was sent a patent that, unbeknownst to her, when she gave it to me, I passed it on to another one of our whistleblowers who worked with the state for 30 years in white-collar crimes and for the state. He contacted me right away and he said, do you know what you have here? I said, I think I do, but you tell me. I said, I think it's the octopus. He said, this is the Department of Defense software system that allows any and everyone who has access to it to access everything about you. They even know what size underwear you wear. He said, this is a bomb. So we packaged it up. It also was mentioned all of this was mentioned in cases that we all have. Articles have been written about it. I wrote an article about how Obama was using our land records as an ATM for Obamacare because we traced it right to that. A week later, the Treasury came out. Oh, by the way, Obama laundered. Well, they said he sent $500 billion worth of GSEs overseas. That was our homes via the land records, laundered through the Treasury overseas, $500 billion. So when I sit here and tell you that we have hundreds of trillions of dollars in fines and fees to be collected, this is why, as Rorie says, we're going to have huge pushback, because guess where those funds and the lifetimes in prisons are going to come from? The attorneys, the judges, the clerks, even sheriffs, even people who have worked for these companies, who have electronically recorded these documents because they had access to this software system that in Orange County, we the people can't use it. In California, it's attorneys and employees of the courts. They give access, they sell the access for this software clear across the country. Whoever wants to have access to it, your land records can have access to it. They make it sound separate, but it's not. They all interact. So even if you have secure software system in your land records, what you don't know is, Renee, what was the name of the software system in your town that we tied to secure?
Tyler Technologies.
Tyler Technologies.
The title companies are involved as well. I have evidence from a subpoena that shows that Fidelity Land Title did perform 2 different title abstracts. One that would include the fraudulent mortgage assignments to deny lenders coverage, and then they did another title abstract to omit those so that they could reconvey the property to a new owner.
And the only thing in title that their duty is to do is regards the land records. What's recorded? Where are the legal documents? Are there certificate of trustees? Are there power of attorneys? What we can tell you, Rorie, how many power of attorneys have you seen that are required actually attached to a document? Val, Tom, any of us? The requirements for recordation are
Well,
there.
that would be Miranda versus Arizona, 384 U.S. 436, 491, I believe, and I think that was 1966. And that is, no state shall make enforce any law which shall abridge the privilege or immunity of the citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any woman or man of life, liberty, property without due process of law, or deny any woman or man within the jurisdiction the equal protection of the law. That's what's happened to all of us. We have been denied the protection.
Exactly.
Now, they actually perpetuated. I know, Renee, you said something about the documents that you had sent out were referred to as forgeries. The 18th Circuit Court in Wheaton, they perpetuated fraud by stating forgery on our documents. Forgery to me is using somebody else's information. All this information was our information. It was not anybody else's information. So they created fraud, and that judge who brought these charges up held me for 22 days. I have no criminal history. I don't even have a moving violation.
Right.
So held me in contempt of court. She lost her job. She was made the trustee, which is her job. Jane H. Minton. So it's been ignored. It's been trampled on. Many people have been incarcerated with fraudulent charges brought up against them.
Well, and a lot of the country now, like for all of us have been in this for decades, 18 years now for me.
Well, it's over 18 years for us. We were 05, 06, 07.
So what this means is we have seen the storm. We have seen the tsunami. We have seen the flood. And now what we are seeing is hope with DOGE. And the whole reason we had this today is because we have an action going on right now. We have a letter that was sent by Homeowners Legal Rights and a letter I sent on February 10th to President Trump. These letters have gone to Mar-a-Lago. They've gone to the White House. They've gone to Marjorie Taylor Greene. They've gone to the Department of Justice. And now we've also reached out to the FBI offices because previously the FBI actually worked against us and actually helped the criminals steal from us. So we need backup. We need the phone calls made. And if you go to the Facebook link, pause land records recording, audit the land records, and return stolen titles. So you can reach out to me and I can help you get there. But it breaks down everything. We have contacts. We have the facts. You can go to free facts and fax anything to your congressmen or senators. And all we're asking is for the support to get behind us in getting to the White House. We've already joked about filling a bus up and putting a banner on the side that says we're here, and we're waiting, taking sleeping bags to get this audit done clear across the country. And for those of you who say, oh, this would be so hard, it's not. You've got technology now with the software system itself. It's the octopus. The stuff it shares in nanoseconds about us. Well, guess what? The same thing can be in reverse. They have this, the DOGE group has the technology, the knowledge, and the ability to go into the land records division of every department across this country. And actually, they could access it from wherever they are. They don't even have to go to that land record, except for the server. They'd probably have to. But the point being is the same thing. They've got the technology to go into the land records and pull out anything. Does it have a power of attorney? They can program this so they get everything sent back to them They'll have spreadsheets. They'll have everything they need. And our homes will be returned. And those who are sitting in stolen homes, there are a percentage of homeowners over the last decades who have fought venomously to stop everything they own from being stolen. I'm still at it. Mikkel Trubchik, you're on my list. And we're going to insist that these homes are returned. And it's if you're sitting in a stolen home, most all of us, there's so much on public record, you couldn't have missed it. If you have an address and pop it in on any of us, you're going to find records related to what's happened to us and our claims against the title. You'll find that special warranty deeds, limited warranty deeds are used on the majority of these properties as well because they can't clear title. So getting back to Renee's point about title companies, where do they get all their documents, of which they do for escrows and purchases, sales? The land records. And conveniently, these title companies omit some records. Oops, they didn't see them, because they play the odds that they're not going to get sued.
That was like Judge Gibson when the opposing attorney for the Carrington mortgage, who actually in a bankruptcy and in a bankruptcy transferred paperwork to a new lender.
Mm-hmm. Well, and think of it now too, because what did Trump do last week? He shut down special clearances to Covington, who handles so many of the cases. Eric Holder, start thinking about these names that are attached to Covington. I don't remember the whole full name. I just remember Covington.
Isn't that the law firm that created the white papers on MERS?
Yes. Covington, Burlington. It sounds like a clothing company.
Do you know that the title companies, Chicago Title, Fidelity Title, have told me that they do not ensure the accuracy of the MERS records?
Oh, of course not, because it's just a filing system. So it's right. They can only insure actual lenders, because the lenders have the E&O. MERS is not a lender. They're not even supposed to be on these documents other than as a file cabinet. They're just holding records. So the second part of this, we all were involved in this last year. I went to Montana and we executed cease and desists and notice of liability following the petition of remonstrance. So all of the states were sent their cease and desist and notice of liability for not honoring the petition of remonstrance and returning any information back to us. So we know they have it. We know they've seen it. It has been talked about on the Supreme Court floor. What you're seeing right now happening, even with the Department of Justice's on their page, we talked about earlier about how the courts are accountable, the judges are accountable. That's all of the petition of remonstrance. That's all of what our grievance states.
Yes,
so everything you're seeing coming out, I'm excited about, because it's what we've demanded since since 2018 forward.